you beautiful bastards? Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, you daily dive into the news. We've got so much that we have to talk about today, but first, I'm very excited to announce our brand new surprise beautiful bastard drop and sale. We've got something for everyone. With fall starting next week, we just launched our brand new core long sleeves, helping you transition into hoodie season while still being light enough for you to layer and not sweat your ass off. Right, because they're made from the same cotton spandex blend y'all have loved, and they're available in 3 different packs: black on black, bone and navy, and olive and plum, all at 45% off right now. But then also, of course, at the core of everything beautiful bastard, we have the idea behind wear your feelings. And since it was brought to my attention by my team that literally today is my 18th year on YouTube, we wanted to release some new, but also some OG throwbacks. So for you Bamfs out there, after 18 years, we're finally launching Bamf gear. You got tees, crops, and hoodies. And we're also unlocking the vault on the villains design. That's available in new colorways. Also, because y'all haven't stopped asking for it, we have the Honestly I'm Fucking Killing It tee and hoodie, and our brand new, barely alive mineral wash tee and two-tone hoodies. All of which is available right now over at beautifulbastard.com with discounts left and right while supplies last. So get what you want while you can. But with all that said, we've got a lot of news to talk about today, so let's just jump into it.
This is a news show.
And of course, first up today, we have to talk about the second apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump in just over 2 months. But as you may have seen, according to law enforcement officials, the incident took place at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, about 4 miles away from Mar-a-Lago. And reportedly at around 1:30 p.m. between the 5th and 7th holes, a Secret Service agent who was securing the course ahead of Trump saw a man with a rifle and scope in the tree line and opened fire, with the Palm Beach County Sheriff saying that Trump was about 300 to 500 yards away, but remained uninjured and was quickly rushed to a holding room. And reportedly, after the initial encounter, the gunman fled in a black Nissan, leaving behind an AK-47 style rifle with the serial number partly scratched off, 2 bags, and a camera mounted to a fence. Though he was quickly arrested around 40 miles from the golf course after a witness saw him fleeing in that black Nissan. And with all this, just this morning, a criminal complaint was released that revealed that the gunman had actually been hiding in the woods around the vicinity of the golf course for nearly 12 hours before a Secret Service agent spotted it. Right, and that, according to data from his cell phone. The complaint also didn't make any mention of whether he fired his weapon, which has also remained unclear so far. And while as of recording officials haven't publicly released a motive, we do know some details about him. Right, we know that he was a 58-year-old former roofing contractor from Greensboro, North Carolina. And according to reports, public records show that he previously faced criminal charges for 2 separate incidents in 2002 for possession of a weapon of mass destruction, with a court docket filing showing that he pled guilty to the first charge in April of that year, although there were no other details widely available to the public. Then, that December, he reportedly faced separate charges after he barricaded himself in a United Roofing building in Greensboro for 3 hours while armed with a machine gun. With the authorities there saying that incident started after he was pulled over for a traffic stop and he was ultimately arrested without incident. Though also with that, it's currently unclear how those charges against him were resolved. Beyond that, it's also been reported that he was intensely fixated on Russia's war with Ukraine, sometimes expressing violent rhetoric regarding the conflict, with, for example, the New York Times specifically pointing to posts that he shared on X in the weeks after the invasion, with that including one where he expressed a desire to fight and die in Ukraine. Also, very notably, he was actually interviewed by the Times back in 2023 for an article about Americans volunteering to help the war effort in Ukraine. And during that interview, which took place when he was in Washington, he told the outlet that he traveled to Ukraine after Russia's invasion and wanted to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight there. But the Times going on to add, he spoke with the self-assuredness of a seasoned diplomat who thought his plans to support Ukraine's war effort were sure to succeed, but also adding he appeared to have little patience for anyone who got in his way. And writing, when an American foreign fighter seemed to talk down to him in a Facebook message he shared with the New York Times, the gunman said he needs to be shot. And in addition to that, the Washington Post also reported that the gunman apparently wrote a 291-page book last year about the disillusionment surrounding Ukraine, with that according to an Amazon listing that was selling it for $2.99. And very significantly, the Post also found a section of the book that focused on Iran where he wrote he must take part of the blame for electing a brainless president, with that being an apparent reference to Trump, and then declaring to readers, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and the dismantling of the deal." So all of that could offer some insight into a potential motive for this maniac. Also online, part of the reason you're seeing people saying, oh, he was a Trump supporter, oh no, he was a Democrat. Well, that is because, as Axios explained, in addition to that line in the book that he wrote in 2023, before X suspended his account on Sunday, he had posted online statements that indicated he was a Trump supporter in 2016, but then noting he turned against the former president by 2020. Also in 2020, he shared several posts expressing support for former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, with him then more recently expressing support for a ticket involving Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. Now, with all that said, as far as how Donald Trump himself has responded, friends and aides have said that he was shocked about the attempt on his life, but that he was cracking jokes about it later in the day, with Trump also thanking local law enforcement and the Secret Service for keeping him safe, saying they had done an absolutely outstanding job. But Trump also also tried to blame Biden and Harris for this latest attempt in an interview with Fox News Digital this morning, with them saying that Biden and Harris's rhetoric is what is causing him to be shot at, claiming that the gunman acted on highly inflammatory language of Democrats, with Trump also insisting that he doesn't use highly inflammatory language, which unfortunately, of course, is a complete lie. He has repeatedly used violent rhetoric and threats against his political opponents, the mere language used by dictators. He has downplayed violence against Democrats, and literally in this same Fox News interview, he said that Democrats, quote, want to destroy our country, and calling them the enemy from within and the real threat. And this as Biden, Harris, and Walz unequivocally condemned the violence, with Harris saying in a statement that she was deeply disturbed by the possible assassination attempt of Trump, and continuing, we all must do our part to ensure that this incident does not lead to more violence, and reiterating that she is thankful that former President Trump is safe. A sentiment that was also echoed by Walz and Biden, who also told reporters this morning that the Secret Service needs more help and that Congress needs to respond. Also, on the note of political violence, another notable response that we saw came from Elon Musk, with Musk responding to a user who had questioned why the gunman wanted to kill Trump and writing, and no one is even trying to assassinate Biden/Kamala. With that post, unsurprisingly, getting a ton of backlash, many accusing Musk of inciting violence, with all that prompting him to delete the post, but not before it got nearly 40 million impressions. He then also later repeatedly attempted to walk it back as a joke in later posts. But with all that said, as far as what happens from here, just this morning, the DOJ charged the gunman with one count of possessing a firearm as a convicted felon and another of possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. But all of this as the investigations remain ongoing, and officials have told reporters that the charges might just be preliminary and more could be brought in the coming weeks. And so as of recording, it's pretty much everything we know, though of course keep in mind this is a developing situation and one that I'll keep an eye on. And not only about the gunman, but also the response from the Secret Service and local law enforcement officials, especially given the fact that the suspect had been lurking near the golf course for almost 12 hours before he was spotted, which seems to suggest that both failed to detect him in their perimeter sweeps. But for now, we'll have to wait to see what comes out. And of course, in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. And then, we gotta talk about how JD Vance and company are just doubling down on these racist lies about Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. And this in part because he's still doing it after a wild few days in Springfield that a lot of people say is kind of his fault, right? And as you probably know, if you've been keeping up with this all goes back to earlier this month, right? Because that is when Vance posted on X that he had been seeing reports of people in Springfield having their pets abducted and eaten by, quote, people who shouldn't be in this country. And then with that, it wasn't long before that lie was being spread by right-wing influencers, Republican lawmakers, and even Donald Trump himself during last week's debate. But also, of course, with that, and I need to stress this, there is no proof of any of it. Right? Ohio police and other officials have again and again said they've received no credible reports of Haitian immigrants harming pets. And the so-called evidence that's been presented to the contrary, it's been extensively and exhaustively debunked. For example, the woman behind an early Facebook post that spread this claim, she's now come out and said she had no firsthand knowledge of any pets actually being stolen or eaten. And then there was actually a woman accused of killing and eating a cat, but she was a US citizen living in a completely different city in Ohio. And then finally, this viral photo of a man walking down the street holding two geese, that was also from another city in Ohio, and the guy was just taking roadkill off the street. And actually, on top of all that, we now have evidence that a neo-Nazi group helped fuel the rumors to begin with, there being a group called Blood Tribe, and they started sharing it on Gab and Telegram back in August. And in fact, when Trump went off the rails and he brought it up in the debate, they were celebrating it, with one writing on Gab, the president is talking about it now. This is what real power looks like. But despite the lies and reality being what it is, the first domino has fallen and there's seemingly no stopping. And so now you have Haitians in Springfield fearing for their safety as they've already been on the receiving end of threats and harassment. And the threats, they've just been getting bigger and bigger. Right, last Thursday, City Hall was forced to close because of a bomb threat. And last Friday, 2 elementary schools were evacuated for the same reason. Also that same day, a video surfaced showing the right-wing extremist group known as the Proud Boys marching through town. And finally here on Saturday, you had 2 local hospitals being forced into lockdown due to bomb threats. And with all this, you had the mayor of Springfield referring to some of the threats as a hateful response to immigration in our town. But then with that, Vance went on CNN yesterday and he rejected the idea that his lies had anything to do with it.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
You just said that you're creating a story.
Public policy.
Sorry, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Her policies did that, but yes, we created the actual focus that allowed the American media to talk about this story and the suffering caused by Kamala Harris's policies.
Now with that clip, whether you see that as that was an accidental mask off situation, he admitted to creating this situation, information and story, or you buy his explanation about creating the focus of the issue. That's a you decision. I'm not gonna tell you what to think. But I do need to be clear that what he is saying just isn't true. And it's not just the nonsense about eating pets. Right? For one, estimates of the number of Haitians who have arrived in Springfield over the past few years range from 12,000 to 20,000. And second, a huge thing here is that the majority of them are here legally thanks to something called temporary protected status, which is something that they got because if they were back in Haiti, they'd have to deal with the constant threat of gang violence and the absolutely horrific conditions there. And with all this, I think it's important to hear the response from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, who, to be clear, is a Republican. And in this interview, he actually reiterated that he is supporting Trump as the Republican candidate for president, but also we saw this interaction.
Do you see any evidence as governor of the state that Haitian immigrants are eating pets?
No, absolutely not. That's what the mayor said. That's what the chief of police has said. These people are here legally. They're here legally, and they want to work, and they are, in fact, working. And when you talk to the employers, what the employers tell you is, you know, we don't know what we would do without them. They are working, and they are working very hard, and they're fitting in with our native people from Springfield.
Right, so while you have a huge chunk of the Republican Party trying to other and villainize these Haitian migrants who are here legally, you have the Republican governor who's actually seeing what's happening on the ground saying, there's so many lies being said about these people who are actually fantastic. They're an integral part. Of course, like everything, it's not a black and white situation. DeWine also acknowledged that there were challenges. But I mean, Springfield was a city of around 60,000 people, and bringing in 12 to 20,000 more, that's not easy to adjust to just like that, no matter where you're from. But having an actual discussion about policy is very different from spreading hate-fueled lies and historically racist tropes. But then, in international news, you know, with as much of a clown show as our presidential debate was last week, it is also important to remember that it could have always been worse. We got a great example of that last night thanks to a mayoral debate for Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's the largest city in the Western Hemisphere with 12 million residents going to the polls to choose their mayor early next month. And the race there has been getting heated, with us seeing, among other things, third place contender Pablo Marçal, an Instagram influencer and self-help guru, going after José Luis de Tena, who's a news anchor who's polling at only 6%, seemingly in an effort to push him out of the race. And his line of attack was to dig up allegations made to police by a female reporter in 2019. They're saying that de Tena frequently made sexually suggestive comments about her, though the reporter later retracted those allegations, and de Tena now says that they put his family under significant emotional duress. And so with that, he demanded that Pablo take back his comments about the incident. But instead, he just shot back that he has all bark and no bite, saying, "You once came over to me during a debate to give me a slap, but you're not even man enough to do that." And de Tena, he did not like that at all. So he, I'm not making this up, as you'll see in a second, he picked up a metal chair and tried to win the debate that way.
Feito. Você não é homem nem para fazer isso. Você não é homem. Vai.
And so the TV station cuts to a commercial, and when they came back, neither of the guys was in the studio. De Tena, for obvious reasons, and Pablo because he was in the back of an ambulance complaining of painful breathing. It then reported that he suffered a fractured rib and a dislocated finger from the assault. He also then went on to compare his chair attack to the assassination attempts on Donald Trump and Jair Bolsonaro. And as for de Tena, he said to reporters that the sexual harassment allegations had been especially painful because he believes they caused his mother-in-law's stroke and eventual death. And him saying with this, "Unfortunately, I lost my head. I could have simply left the debate, gone home, which would have been much better. But just as I cry, a human reaction, this was a human reaction that I couldn't contain." So yeah, that was a thing. But then, you know, getting into credit card debt, it is so easy, but getting out, I mean, the system's set up so that we don't. I mean, most of us have found ourselves or are currently struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, medical bills. I could unfortunately go on. And that can be overwhelming, but there are options out there to help, right? I mean, if you find yourself making payments on your debt, but feeling more like you aren't actually getting anywhere with it, you're not alone. And the sponsor of today's show, PDS Debt, they can help. Because PDS Debt strives to understand your specific scenario and can help provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. And everyone with over $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there's no minimum credit score required. When you go to pdsdebt.com/DeFranco, they'll give you a free debt analysis, and it only takes 30 seconds. So stop waiting and start saving, and get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/DeFranco. Because nobody likes the stress of mounting debt and the pressure that comes with that. Surviving is not living. So regain control of your life and live for you, not your debt. And then in generally what the fuck news, we need to talk about how a Colorado teenager trying to find a spot to take a homecoming picture ended up getting shot in the face. Right, with this news actually starting last Tuesday at around 3:30 in the afternoon, because that is when, according to local law enforcement, a 17-year-old picked up his friend from Dakota Ridge High School in Littleton, Colorado. And after driving for a while, they came across a house with a lake and a dock that they thought looked pretty nice. And so they decided, hey, let's go ask the homeowner, hey, can we come back here and take homecoming pictures? But to do that, they hopped a fence, walked up the driveway to the house, and knocked on the door. door. And then when there wasn't an answer, they walked around the property a bit trying to locate a homeowner. Until finally, they can't find anyone, so they go back to the car and they grab a piece of paper with them figuring, let's leave a note. But what they didn't know is that the homeowner was a guy by the name of Brent Metz, who owned the place along with his girlfriend. And Metz, he's 38 years old. He's actually a town councilman for a place called Mountain View, a small town of about 550 people near Denver. And while he and his girlfriend weren't home at the time, they saw the two teenagers thanks to a surveillance system. So the girlfriend called 911 to report the boys as trespassers, but Metz, he ended up getting there first. And while the boys were writing the note, he reportedly pulled up behind them in his pickup truck and blocked them in, with him then getting out, walking toward the front of the car, pulling a gun from his holster and firing a round through the windshield, hitting the driver in the face, according to police. Now, notably, I should say that may not have been his intention. Metz reportedly said, "Oh shit, my gun went off," after he fired. And then when the other boy ran around the driver's side to apply pressure to his friend's gunshot wound, Metz actually tried to help, though the teen reportedly pushed him away, asking why he had shot his friend. Now, with all that, the one that got shot, he's reportedly okay, suffering serious injuries, but surviving, and he was released from the hospital and he's recovering at home. And as far as Metz, he is also at home, but he has also been charged with 4 felonies. And while he was allowed to leave jail by promising to return for future court appearances, he does face decades in prison if convicted. But as far as what's going to happen here, you never really know. The laws vary from state to state, as we've seen with past situations. And these cases really can go a lot of different ways depending on where they happen. But while we wait to see what happens in actual court, I'll pass the question off to the court of public opinion. What are your thoughts here? But then, I hate Taylor Swift. Also, Swifties, know, and do not come after me, you can stop typing, hit backspace. Those are not my words. Rather, it is a quote from former President Donald Trump, who posted that on Truth Social yesterday, with this seeming to be his reaction to Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris. And, obviously you have a lot of people cracking jokes about all this, but you also have some arguing that Trump's words, they're not just funny and unhinged, they could actually have serious consequences. Right, with the likes of Teen Vogue's editor-in-chief saying that his words will only embolden his most threatening and hateful supporters against her, a key reason why she didn't want to speak out in the first place. Right, with others noting that all of this is happening after her concert in Vienna was canceled over a planned terrorist attack and 3 people were killed during a stabbing at a Taylor-themed dance class in the UK. Or so there's a lot of talk about there already being a heightened concern about people targeting events related to her, which is also why you had another viral TikTok saying,
regardless of his intention, this is incredibly dangerous behavior. Donald Trump has a track record of whipping people into a frenzy. Regardless of the lies he wants to peddle, he is responsible for the insurrection that took place on January 6th at the US Capitol. Trump tweeting something like this is literally dangerous for the remaining Eras tours in the United States.
But also with this whole situation, you have others saying this is really just a smokescreen. It's a distraction. With Pete Buttigieg, for example, looping in several of these weird stories and tweeting, cats, dogs, geese, Laura Loomer. Look, now he's attacking Taylor. Like the last season before a show gets canceled for getting over the top and at the same time boring. This election is about jobs, wages, climate, healthcare, abortion. Not his show, your life. And that's not to say that both of the points that people have been making here can't be right at the same time, but I think it is interesting to consider. But then, in entertainment news, is YouTube beating Netflix in the streaming wars? Right, that's a question Variety asked in a recent report because it noted that while people have often tried to compare the likes of Netflix to Disney Plus and Hulu and Apple and so on, YouTube is actually its major competitor. Because if you look at the straight viewing time, YouTube beats Netflix both in streaming time on TVs and smartphones. And even though YouTube is a very different platform, those are the eyeballs Netflix should really be after, with Variety even saying that the subscription streaming wars is transitioning into the engagement wars, especially since apps like TikTok also pose a threat to Netflix in terms of watch time. And if you've watched this show before, this isn't a new topic, but it is the evolution of it. Just looking back to last year in 2023, YouTube was the top streaming platform, with reports then noting that watch time on MrBeast videos actually rivals the watch times of some Netflix shows. Also, over the summer, you had consumers kind of ranking YouTube platforms above Netflix, or like when a survey asked what entertainment services were must-haves, Spotify took the #1 spot, but the rest of the top 5 went to YouTube services like Premium, TV, and so on, with it even bumping Netflix from the top 5. And now it seems all but confirmed that Netflix sees YouTube as its competitor, because this weekend, we got reports that they're trying to snag one of the biggest series from the platform, Hot Ones. So apparently Netflix doesn't want the Hot Ones as we know it. Instead, they want live editions of Hot Ones, which I will say, actually a great idea. It's like a super low stakes but entertaining version of like what's gonna happen live content. Where instead of seeing if that guy that's trying to tightrope across the Grand Canyon, if he's gonna fall to his death, if someone's gonna be the next DJ Khaled. Though honestly, I don't know if anyone will ever do as poorly as DJ Khaled did on Hot Ones. But reportedly, if this deal does come to fruition, Sean Evans would host these live versions exclusively for Netflix. And while I'm extremely biased because I am a Sean Evans fan, I think this would be very cool to see. Then, in quick creator news, MrBeast, Logan Paul, and KSI are collabing. And they're doing so in a way that's gonna affect a lot of kids' health, because they are bringing their Feastables and Prime Hydration brands together to launch Lunchly, which is a Lunchables competitor. And reportedly, there will be a a few different kinds of Lunchables, all of which come with a prime hydration drink and a Feastables candy bar. Right, one is a pizza style, another is nachos, and the last is turkey and cracker stack'ems. And based on the Lunchables website, it seems like they're trying to position the brand as a healthier option than Lunchables, right? Comparing the nutrition information and saying Lunchables products have fewer calories and sugars and have more electrolytes. With Logan Paul even telling the Hollywood Reporter that the grab-and-go lunch market has, quote, been dominated by Lunchables since we were kids ourselves, and it's time to provide a better option for those looking for a convenient, healthier choice. So this, of course, as many have pointed out, that Prime has been criticized in the past for potential health concerns or people arguing that kids shouldn't drink it. Though notably, that's at least about the energy version, with the brand also facing its fair share of legal troubles. But that said, I do not doubt that these will be incredibly successful. Given their previous successes in the marketplace and their different categories, I think the big box stores are very open to this. And given scandal or no scandal, a MrBeast video getting more viewership than like a Super Bowl commercial, it feels like they'd really have to drop the ball for this to fail. But hey, you also never know how the market's gonna react, so we'll see. And then, so election day is in 50 days, an amount of time that feels both very far away and very soon, but the election is actually already officially started. Because while last week, Alabama started sending out the nation's first absentee ballots, a number of other states have followed suit, including with those key battleground states. With, for example, municipalities in Wisconsin, they need to start sending out mail-in ballots by Thursday. Carson City, Nevada is also set to send absentee and mail-in ballots this week for residents who will be out of state on election day, with other counties in the state expected to do the same in the coming days. Meanwhile, counties in Pennsylvania are mandated to start processing applications for mail-in ballots today, though those won't go out until the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decides a handful of outstanding cases. And because federal law requires all states to send military ballots by this Saturday, Georgia and North Carolina are set to send those out by tomorrow and Friday, respectively. While Georgia won't be sending most mail-in ballots until next month, North Carolina officials say that they expect to send other overseas ballots next week. Right? And this is super significant because in addition to officially kicking off the election, experts have predicted that many of these mail-in and absentee ballots will be the ones that decide the election. Hell, even the Republican National Committee chairman told reporters earlier this year that he believes that more than half of all voters will cast their ballots before Election Day, which is especially notable because, as we talked about last week, there are ongoing concerns about widespread problems with the US mail system that could disrupt voting. And this also as Trump and his Republican allies have done a complete 180 on mail-in voting. They famously, in the past, demonized mail-in voting, which usually skews more Democrat, also using it to perpetuate the big lie back in 2020. But now you have the party and its leader embracing the practice, with Trump repeatedly calling on Republicans to vote by mail this year. And this, even as he continues to call it corrupt. But of course, the main thing here is if you haven't already, go to vote.gov or vote.org. If you think you're registered to vote, double check. If you're not registered to vote, get registered, because the game is officially on and there's so many things to vote for at a national and a super local level that will affect you and those you love. That, my friends, is the end of your Monday evening, Tuesday morning dive into the news. As a friendly reminder, remember, grab what you want while you can over at beautifulbastard.com, get in on that drop. But yeah, otherwise, that's it. Feel free to turn your brain off until, hey, you come back here tomorrow and we parse through the state of the world together. But at least we have each other to do so. I love yo faces, and I'll see you then.